We have to start off with France defeating the USMNT 3-0 and the USMNT's return to the Olympic Games. Um, it was a very interesting game, very interesting game. You gotta say, it's a hard to analyze the game because, to be honest, if you talk about the run of play, the scoreline was nowhere near deserving as the performance. Now, the result for the USMNT is horrible. It's horrible. Losing the game, not only losing the game, but losing it 3-0, puts you a little bit behind in goal differential. It basically puts you a point that you're chasing 6 points in these games against New Zealand and Guinea. You have no room to slip up. And that's a difficult place to find yourself in. Obviously, I still think the U.S. has more about them than New Zealand and Guinea. But putting yourself in a position that you need 6 points in those two games is not the most comfortable position that the U.S. could be in, to say the least. And it's frustrating, especially when you look at the performance today. Now, the performance I thought was decent. It's decent. You look at the expected goals. And the U.S. has doubled the expected goals of France in terms of the expected goals, the advanced stats, and it shows that France, they weren't able to create much. They weren't able to create much. Going forward, there no clear-cut chances. Their clear-cut opportunities were. They didn't have clear-cut opportunities. They didn't really create much. The goal that they scored with Lacazette, it's kind of a half chance. He finds a little bit of space and he whips it in or shoots it, and it bounces 3 times. And I have to say, Schulte, I keep saying his name wrong, Schulte, he must do better. He must do better. The ball bounces multiple times. Don't think he has much. He doesn't get enough of a spring diving for the ball. He doesn't stretch fast enough. He doesn't stretch wide enough. Maybe his near post. Maybe he was a little bit positioned closer to the near post than he should have been. And overall, it was a bad goal to let in. Really bad goal to let in. He shouldn't be getting beat from there with that shot that had no real pace on it. And then the thing is though, they were able to get that goal, France, and then it was still the U.S. that had the next few clear opportunities. They created multiple opportunities putting the ball in. They had one hitter that was a very good save from Restis, and then they had another opportunity in which Tolkien, the left back, just fluffs his lines, misfires a header. Instead of attacking the ball, he kind of lets the ball hit his head, and it hits the post from point blank range into the 6-yard box. In that type of moments, you have to do better. And in moments that the U.S. doesn't take advantage of, France did. And look, that Lacazette ball goes in. But by the way, a few minutes beforehand, Giorgio Mihailovic had an opportunity from long range where he struck the crossbar, an absolutely brilliant shot. That was probably the only thing he did all game. I thought he was a shock, a disgrace. If you're an overage player at these Olympic Games, you're expected to be the people that, are to be relied upon at these Olympic Games. You're supposed to be relied upon. You're supposed to be the warriors carrying the team. I have to say, Miles Robinson Miles Robinson and especially Mihailovic, they just let them down. Mihailovic, he didn't look comfortable. I mean, anytime he got on the ball, he didn't progress the ball like I expected him to do as a attack-minded midfielder. His touch was off. He lost the ball many times. Didn't really put in good set pieces whenever he was on the set pieces. He didn't put in good service. He was overall useless. One of the worst players on the pitch. Maybe the worst player for the U.S. besides Schulte. And then Miles Robinson, looked a little sloppy in the first half. Lost the ball in a bad area. The corner kick, completely loses his man. Trips over. I don't know if he was tripped over the player, but just completely loses sight of Loic Balde, who gets a free header on it. Just looked like a practice goal. And yeah, I mean, you cannot be making those mistakes if you're the overage player. The Miles Robinson one, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh, and I think as the tournament goes on, he'll get more comfortable playing in there with Walker Zimmerman. But this Georgia Mihailovic experience, he's just not good enough. He's not good enough. There was better players. There was better players available. I would have preferred to have Cade Cowell instead of him, even if it's not like for like. I would have preferred to have Cade Cowell over him, who's actually age eligible. And I would also prefer Diego Luna playing the position that he was playing. Now, I think he has more potential, And also, we'll talk about the USMNT, correct? Now, we're talking about this Olympic game. He was an overage player. What a waste of an overage player. You could have brought in the likes of so many more. Even if you wanted to bring in someone creative, you could have had better options as a creative midfielder. Horrible choice in my opinion. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to throw things out there because obviously, I don't know this for sure. But I have to be honest. I don't know. I can't see what Mitrovic was thinking, which was the U23 coach, in bringing Mihailovic. I don't understand. Was there pressure from Berhalter when he was still the manager? Because he kind of oversaw this Olympic roster at the same time. Was it that? I don't know. Was it maybe Mihailovic? It's on. Maybe it's some sort of nepotism in the fact that Mitrovic, he's a Serbian. Mihailovic is of Serbian descent, maybe. I don't want to throw accusations out there. Obviously, that's I think this is that's a crazy thing to do. But that's just kind of where my mind is going, because it makes absolutely no sense how Mihailovic can get into this team. He's not good enough at this level. He is an overage player that's weighing this team back, that's holding them back in this opening game. He was awful. And look, it's crazy. If he hits that goal, that happens like minutes before Lacazette's goal. He hits that goal, it's a completely different game, and the momentum's going to the US. But it doesn't. Even if he scores that goal, for me, it won't change the performance. I'll still be here saying he wasn't good enough. Because he was not good enough. He was not good enough. Just like how when Bellingham had that magical bicycle kick against Slovakia, I came in here the next day or the next morning, and I was like, he was not good enough. He was awful the entire game, and the bicycle kick doesn't mask over it. Even if we were to score that goal, it doesn't mask over how bad he was this game. He's been awful. He should not be in the starting lineup next game. There has to be a better option, a better attacking talent option off the bench. I'm not much familiar with the guys on the bench of this team, but there has to be a team that gives you a little bit more going forward. Someone who actually try a ball going forward, or someone who's not afraid of the moment, who's able to control the ball and has a good touch. I thought Duncan Maguire, there was a few times he was able to connect it. But, there is a little bit of ceiling, with him in terms of the quality he has. I was surprised in the fact that he had a little bit more pace than what I, originally thought. And it gave them a little bit of a threat, to go in behind just a little bit. Couldn't really formulate anything, but there was the pace there. His work rate was good. As expected, his work rate is always good. But yeah, he has a clear ceiling. And, another potential overage player could have been a striker. That would have been a perfect overage player if we couldn't get the likes of Ricardo Pepi to the squad. We could have done, since we couldn't get the likes of Ricardo Pepi, why not go for an overage player, yeah, it is what it is. Frustrating day at the office. Look, the U.S., in terms of general play, they played really, really well. But France, they had the quality and they took advantage of it in moments in which the U.S. did not. The U.S. in their moments, they just didn't have that, quality to get into the back of the net. While the likes of Lacazette, Olise, you give them those half window of opportunities, they have the quality to make you pay. And they made the U.S. pay, while the U.S. couldn't make France pay, despite the chances that U.S. created in the performance that they put out there. France, just had overall better quality. And, this kind of similar to the way France beats even the senior national team plays, in the fact that maybe in terms of the general play, they don't dominate the game like they expected to. but they take advantage of in moments just based on the quality that the team has, and that's kind of what we've seen again here, which is weird because this is a completely different manager, completely different set of players, but they kind of done it similar to how Deschamps wants to play for France, and Deschamps would be watching this game, which I'm sure he will be, really, really proud, saying that, saying this is exactly my kind of win, But yeah, I thought, Thierry Henry, I thought he could have had this team playing much better. I think the quality won this game. I don't think they outcoached the U.S. or anything. I think it was quality. I think Thierry Henry's performance in this game and the fact that we didn't see a loose style of play, good pattern of play, attack dominating game. We saw a team win on moments. In fact, we saw a France team that was vulnerable sometimes to the U.S. Now, it was good to win the game. That's the most important thing in the opening game. But they didn't really, they won 3-0, but did they really put out a message of, yeah, we're here to dominate the tournament? No. As I said, for U.S. had more than double expected goals over France. I mean, that's saying a lot. More than double, And yeah, now, the response is the most important thing for the U.S., Now, losing 3-0 is really, really bad because of goal differential and all that, and puts you in a little bit of a, tight hold here. But at the end of the day, more likely than not, you beat New Zealand and you beat Guinea, you're getting to the round of 16 or the quarterfinals, and they have the quality. They're better teams than New Zealand and Guinea. They're better teams than them. The way that they perform today, they are better than whatever New Zealand and Guinea could put up. New Zealand and Guinea, they're all both decent sides. I saw them play earlier today as well, but the U.S. just has more quality than them. It's just whether or not the U.S. can get the ball into the back of the net. And if the U.S. could get the ball in the back of the net, they could get an early goal in that New Zealand game. I think it can break the game. But, yeah, it's just the response. They have to put this game behind them. They can't dwell on this for too long. The focus has to go on New Zealand, and it must be 3 points no matter what. That's at the end of the day. That has to be the mentality. If they're able to put this game behind them, I still think they will get out of the group because they have the quality to get out of the group, and they're the best team in this group besides France.